Hey everybody, welcome to Discussing Tabletop, as I include my musical interlude. Thank you very much. Thank you. I'm going to be here probably for about an hour and a half. I was going to say all night, but it's not appropriate. Hey.
Oh, you might come back on later, I don't know.
Oh, that's true. Like, I could randomly stream for some reason. I wasn't planning on it, but you never know. Like, someone could be like, hey, you want to join me for a stream? And I could be like, sure. Mind if I stream too? And they're like, no. But anyway. Hey, we're episode 157. It's, of course, August 15th, 2020. I hope everybody's having a great Saturday so far. Mine has been pretty decent. I got up a little late, but I managed to enjoy getting some work done. And totally got to enjoy a couple of giant enemy crabs.
What?
Our local giant had that you could order in, like, fresh crabs.
Ah.
Yeah. So I got to enjoy a few of those while working.
Did these transform?
I mean... She's watching weird Barbie movies in the living room.
Crab knees.
Like, I've had to run away from my living room because it's so bad. Anyway, as I throw this docket up into chat here, for those of you who are watching, I will talk about our docket here. We're going to talk about Unearthed Arcana first. It's a pretty big one. It's the Subclasses 4, so it's more subclasses for classes.
It's more dark and broody subclasses.
Yeah, that's what this one is. Effectively, you could describe it as a dark and broody one. It's a bard subclass and a warlock subclass. Then, of course, we do want to talk about Star Trek Adventures, because they came out with two of their character sheet books. One for the Enterprise, the prequel series, and one for iconic villains or adversaries. And then we can talk about Tammany Hall, an interesting board game about, like, corruption and ruling over New York and stuff like that. A Fallout Shelter, the board game by Fantasy Flight, which interests me a little bit because it's I liked Fallout Shelter, and I'm taking a board game look. And then I did want to hit up, I think we talked a little bit about Friday the 13th Horror at Camp Crystal Lake when they first announced it, but it's coming out now, and of all the board games that are coming out now, it's interesting. I mean, goddammit, with 2 weeks of stuff, I found very few good and interesting topics, like things that stood out to me like, hey, this would be cool to talk about. It's kind of interesting that, we missed last week, and there isn't a lot. Summertime Blues. I guess, like, they had all their announcements at Gen Con or something, we talked about a bunch of them. But, should we start with Unearthed Arcana?
Yes, why don't we?
So, there's two new subclasses. College of Spirits for bards, and the Undead Patron for warlocks.
Which is interesting, because they already had undead patrons.
Did they?
Well, at least that's what I have on my Thursday character. Maybe it was something.
Maybe it was an Unearthed Arcana that you had. They had Lich Patron, Lightning is saying.
I don't know.
I don't know, but they call it the Undead. Your patron could be like Lord Soth or Strahd or other ancient undead being. I like that. It's like, hey, Strahd. You're like, oh, great, Strahd. Give me my warlock powers. Thank you.
Hey, Strahd. You want to be buddies? Want to be besties?
I mean, what the hell would that mean if you chose, like, Strahd as your patron and you're playing in Curse of Strahd? It's like, so... Hi there?
If I kill you, do I lose my power?
It's like, you're kind of a threat to this place. I'm not necessarily a good guy, but still the entire, like, preying on the mortals. I'm not a big fan of it. I'm just saying.
Why'd you buddy up with me?
I don't know.
I think in that respect, the GM would go, no, Strahd cannot be your patron unless you're going to turn on the party.
I mean, it would be an interesting dynamic, and I would like to see, like, how that would deal out, like, encountering your patron. I think that's something in general in warlocks, even if they're not an antagonist. What does it mean to encounter your patron? Like, some of them, like, if you're doing, like, otherworldly things like, Cthulhu and stuff, it sucks. But if you're doing things like Celestials, what happens if you encounter your patron as a Celestial patron?
Hey, Sarah.
Mm-hmm.
How you doing? High five?
High five! Woo! I mean, it's got an expanded spell list. It's interesting, like Speak with Dead, False Life, things like that. Nothing that stands out.
Yeah. The form of dread is nice.
Yeah.
You when you take the form, it lasts for a minute. You can do it as a bonus action.
Yeah.
And you get a D10 plus your warlock level and 10 hit points.
Oh.
During each of one of your turns, when you attack a creature, you can make them take.
When you hit a creature with an attack, you can have it make a saving throw or be frightened until the end of your next turn. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and you're immune to frightened conditions.
And I mean,
go ahead.
I mean, like, yeah, you get a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus. Yeah, I don't know. This is kind of interesting one.
And you take on a feature of whatever your undead.
If you have a vampire patron, you might be like, have bat features. Blah, blah, blah. I talk like this while I am activating my form of dread. Blah, blah, blah.
My patron is Count.
Count Chocula.
Frankenberry.
Oh, great Frankenberry! Your delicious fruit I shall use for your dark work. Oh, God.
6th level, you get Grave Touch, which you can deal necrotic damage. Well, one, your patron, you don't need to eat, drink, or breathe. And when you're transformed into your other form, you can deal necrotic damage instead of the regular type of damage with your attack, and deal an extra damage die.
Okay, so this is like if I attack someone and would roll damage, I can use necrotic damage instead. Form of Dread allows me to roll extra dice. That's pretty good. I mean, like, again, like, the times and places where necrotic damage is better up in the air, but it does mean that you can.
But you also get an extra die too. So even if they aren't weak to necrotic damage, but you can still take it. It's.
I mean, there's plenty of things that, like, you know, like normal weapons don't deal as much against. So, like, going necrotic could definitely just be a way to go around that anyway. Like, you might have to have, like, a silver or, like, an adamantine or a magical weapon. You want a link to it, to the Unearthed Arcana. Do you now, Lightning?
I can put it in there for you.
Oh, I got it quickly. I already have it. I was on top of it. I'm next to the page here.
Are you on the bottom of it, though?
No, I'm looking at. I've got the PDF open of it, and then I've also got the actual page to link to it right next to it too.
Mortal Husk is one of my favorites, though. You explode.
All right.
Yeah. You, basically, when you go to reduced to 0 hit points, you can cause your body to explode. Each creature within 30 feet of you takes necrotic damage equal to 2d10 plus your warlock level, and then you revive with 1 hit point in your previous space along with your gear, and you gain 1 level of exhaustion. And you can't do it again for 1d4 long rests.
You explode in necrotic energy.
Yeah, you explode and then revive.
Well, apparently the same ability also gives you resistance to necrotic, or if you're using Form of the Dread, immunity to necrotic. So, I mean, like, that's pretty interesting too, but I like, it's like exploding, dealing some damage, and then coming back. It's like, you're about to get me. But it's like when you're reduced to 0, you're like, I come back up, but I exploded into it. Breaking.
Which is good or bad, because if you're also down near your friends...
It's like, don't worry guys, I got this. Oh, I'm gonna explode.
And then the capstone for that one is 14th level, and you can astral project pretty much. You can send your spirit out of your body and
you've like around. A ghost form. Yeah. It's effectively incorporeal from what I can see here. You know.
Yeah, your spirit gains resistance to bludgeoning, spirit and body gain resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage, which is important that the body does too, because you're not in it, and if someone tries to attack it, when you cast a spell of conjuration and necromancy, you don't have to. It doesn't require verbal, somatic, or material components that lack a gold cost.
Because you can, you can either teleport to your body or have your body magically teleport to you. You can be like, okay, guys, I'm gonna leave my body. Throw me in that closet. just don't worry about it.
Here, I'll infiltrate the castle. I'll get to where we need to be, and just zap my body to me.
Mm-hmm. Just, or like if you're like attacking, you're like spirit form. You know, I'm gonna go battle. It's like, okay, everybody, just keep me in the. Just you see this broom closet? Just throw me in there.
Put me in the put my body in the bag of holding.
Well, I mean, since it's teleportation, it can't go beyond dimensions, so you're probably screwed.
Oh
there.
Yeah, that's probably not a good idea.
No, but you can leave your body in the bathroom.
You also have a fly speed equal to your walk, and you can walk through people and objects, but you can't end your turn in one. If you do, you take a D10 force damage. And while using your dread form in this, you deal necrotic damage, to a creature. You gain hit points equal to half the amount of necrotic damage dealt.
I'm assuming you'd really just have to be spellcasting at that point in time, because I don't know actually, because you're a spirit.
Ghost punch.
You don't have weapons at all, unless I guess you have ghost touch weapons.
Yeah, ghost punch.
Yeah, I mean, like, the undead warlock's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I mean, not to unshine from the
College of Spirits.
They get some cool abilities too.
You gain guidance as a cantrip. Guidance is always good.
You get spiritual focus.
Employ special tools. When you cast a bard spell that deals damage or restores hit points through this spiritual focus, roll a d6, and you gain a bonus to the roll of the spell equal to the number rolled. Okay, so like you gain that you have like a candle, a crystal ball, talking board, a tarot deck, or skull or something, and then like, at 6th level when you cast spells through it, you get bonuses.
I just have to say this. If you choose the skull, every spell you cast that way, you have to say, "At last, poor Yorick, I knew him well."
Probably not. Anyway, so let's see here. The Tales of Beyond. I think this is the interesting one you were talking to me about before the start of the show.
You roll randomly on a chart that has 12 options to figure out what tale you hear from beyond. And then you can use an action to choose one creature you can see within 30 feet of you. This can be you. And the target of the tale's effect. Once you do so, you can't bestow the effect again until you roll it again. But you can basically start it off on your day. You don't lose it till you do a short or long rest. So you can be like, what tales do I hear from beyond? And then just hold on to that tale and use it when it's appropriate.
When you spend use of Bardic Inspiration, and you can use bonus action roll a Spirit Toad using the Bardic Inspiration dice to determine the. Okay, so I see. So like you can only get a D12 when your inspiration can go up to a D12. You roll a die, and like so very early on, you can only tell like certain tales. And some of the more powerful tales are probably the lower level ones, you know.
Oh yeah, like the higher numbers, like 12, unknown.
Yeah. You basically talk about Cthulhu. Choose a creature you can see within 30 feet of you. The target must succeed in an intelligence saving throw or take psychic damage equal to 3 rolls of your Bardic Inspiration dice. The target is unable to speak a language for a minute. That's mean, but it's like
that's with spellcaster.
I know. Yeah. Okay, so it's like Bardic Inspiration, though. So it's like once you activate it, it retained in your mind until you bestow the tale's effects or you finish a short or long rest. It's exactly Bardic Inspiration. Bardic Inspiration lasts until it's used, or...
Okay, yes. It's basically a Bardic Inspiration.
Yeah, it's using it in place of your normal Bardic Inspiration. So, like, yeah, it's like I activate it, I roll, I figure out which one I get, and I can then hold on to it. Then you can conduit...
Spirit. Well, you get Spirit Session.
Yeah. Basically, read a Ouija board. I mean...
you can conduct a ritual with a number of creatures equal to your proficiency. At the end of the ritual, you temporarily learn one spell of your choice from any class.
Yeah, that's good. For an hour, I can learn a spell. But for an hour ritual. Like, I feel like it's not probably going to be like a combat thing unless it's like
Unless you know you're going up against a big bad or something.
That you need like a very certain type of spell that'll be helpful against them.
I mean, the spell you choose must be of a level equal to the number of creatures that conducted the ritual or less. So if you want to do like a level 9 spell, you have to have 9 people helping you with the ritual. The spell must be a level that you can cast, and it must be the school of divination or necromancy. So that's actually really restrictive.
I mean, okay, so it must be in the school of divination or necromancy. Okay, so that does restrict it a lot. Level you can cast, great. Number of creatures in the ritual equal to spell level. Okay, whatever. But it's basically you have access to any divination or necromancy spells. It kind of what it says.
Yeah. And then 14th is the other capstone. You get mystical connection. Your connection to the spirit becomes semi-permanent whenever you use Tales from Beyond feature. You can roll a 6 and use it instead of expending a bardic inspiration die.
Oh, D6, yeah.
Oh yeah, D6. Sorry. You still use the bardic inspiration die for the Tales effect without expending it.
Okay,
so that's kind of nice.
Whenever you use the Tales from Beyond feature, you can roll a D6 and use it instead of expending the inspiration dice.
So you'd only get 1 through 6 in the Tales, so you'd only get up to hero.
But the last sentence there kind of confused me for a moment. You can still use your bardic inspiration dice for the Tales effects.
Yeah,
without expending it. Okay, so I see like...
some of them might say, like, hero. The target gains temporary hit points equal to your bardic inspiration die plus your bard level. Why these temporary hit points...
You get up to walking speed plus 10 speed also,
Yeah. So it's like, you'd roll whatever your bardic inspiration die is to give them that temp HP, but you don't actually spend the die.
But I think it's like bardic inspiration, you can only have one at a time.
Yeah. But it's still not, basically, So you could actually, it's just, you quickly can do 1 through 6. You don't have, and not lose any inspiration.
Yes, it would mean that if you want to set up having 1 through 6 active, you could just say you take the time to do it. Granted, like, because it's still a random roll, it's just like, I take like a minute. Within that time, you're probably going to have at least a roll of 1 to 6 to activate the proper tail. Because you'll know what tail you get, and you'll be like, I do like that idea. That, like, you could be like, okay, I think I'm going to need the Avenger. And so, like, I'm going to spend a minute, I have Avenger set up. And I don't have to expend it. Yeah.
Which is 30-foot teleportation.
Yeah, and if you have enough charisma, you can all get away with that. You're like, okay, we're all ready to teleport 30 feet. Other side of this wall.
Or on top of the battlements.
That might work for 30 feet, depending on how high the battlements are, too. It's still... for setting up for a minute, I mean, like, granted, like, you could probably roll it and try to get it to, you're like, I'm setting up a tail. I'm setting up a different tail. I'm setting up a different tail. Did I get the one I wanted? Okay, great. In the heat of combat, you could do it just to get the one you want, especially if you're planning on running away. It's just not great. Granted, by 14th level, I mean, like, you can still roll the higher ones. It's an interesting, ability that you can use these lower ones fairly at will, though one at a time. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean, Dragon's pretty freaking awesome, so is Giant.
Nah, man, they've got some good ones in there that are very interesting. Those, and again, like, the higher level ones, definitely, it's like when you get those dice. So that's kind of neat.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think this is the last. Because I think they did all the classes now.
I don't know if they did Bard or Warlock before, though. That's what I have to say. I can't remember.
I don't think they did. I think those were the two that were still missing.
You say that, and then I keep thinking about it, and I'm like...
I think. I'm not 100% sure.
I can try to see about... Because it's Subclasses Part 4, and we have to go back to Subclasses... Not Subclasses Revisited. Artificer, Druid, and blah blah blah. No, there's the College Creation for the Bards back in Subclasses too.
Okay, well then.
I don't think they've done everything, but again, like, it's also what ideas you have for these different ones. What stands out as something that would be very cool to put together a subclass for, and you got a great idea. Like the Bard one makes sense for Bard rather than for some other ones. Yeah, they've done...
Artificer, Ranger...
Here they did a Fighter, Rogue, Wizard...
Druid...
Paladin, Monk... Warlock before, Barbarian.
Oh.
Yep. And Bard, Cleric, Sorcerer, and Artificer. Yeah, I mean, like, again, like, but it's like 2. So, I mean, like, they're coming up with some things. And I feel like the 2 of these have a similar vibe to them.
Well, they also did the Rogue before, too, that was in this genre.
Yes, but remember, they did. They did the Rogue
And they
before.
rotted it.
Well, they did it both in this genre. But they changed it a lot more from like I'm risen from the dead to I'm emo, and now and I'm emo and talking to spirits, and now these are like, how about a couple more emo ones?
So you could have a total team of emos?
Yes.
So now we need the if we're going that route, then we need the barbarian that cuts himself to get power.
God. I mean, technically speaking, in Pathfinder, you could probably do that. There's, like, the vicious weapons that do you damage to do extra damage. So you can just have that all the time. So you're cutting yourself to gain power. Barbarian with, like, a vicious greatsword. So it does, like, 4d6, but you take a d6 every time you hit something with it. It's really what it does. I mean, it's, like, good. But again, like, you're, like...
You take half of that, so maybe.
I mean, I think if they have less damage reduction in Pathfinder, because I'm doing Pathfinder with that.
Yeah, I know. But if you had it in, like...
A version of 5th edition? A version of 5th edition would probably be worse, because, again, it's, like, all about, like... There's a lot of balancing fixtures, so it just would murder the crap out of you.
But, going from the past to the future...
Oh, yeah. We have some Star Trek to talk about. Technically...
Which, this is really cheap.
Yes, they're offering them both for £4. And isn't the pound...
a little higher than the dollar. I don't know what the current rate is at the moment. Let me see.
Good question.
Let's see. $1.31 per one pound. So it's not a huge amount. So let's see, 3.99. So it'd be $5.22 US.
Not bad. But okay. So they came out with 2 of them. First off, we'll talk about we'll talk about both of them. We got Iconic Villains, which I'm showing off the book from here. They're very simple books. It's a 15-page PDF containing non-player character statistics for 8 of the most iconic villains. It's the Gorn Captain. So cool, got a Gorn stats. Khan. Yep. General Chang. He's a Klingon, if you don't remember that one. It took me a while to...
played by Christopher Lee? Or not Christopher Lee. Christopher Lloyd.
I don't know. There was one.
I know Christopher Lloyd played a Klingon general.
I know, but he was in the movie. I think Chang comes from the series, but he did do stuff. Q, Locutus, so if you're doing next gen, Lore, Goldacott, and of course the Borg Queen if you're going Voyager or movies. It's an interesting selection.
Oh no, he was Krug. Sorry.
Hi. What's up?
Yes, I wanted to see, just like we were saying off stream, I want to see Q stats.
Okay, no, yeah, General Chang is the one that was played by Christopher Plummer.
Right. Yeah, no, Krug was Lloyd.
Yes.
Which is just kind of weird when you, it's like, when you think Christopher Lloyd, Back to the Future guy, being a Klingon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no. No, I mean, like, that's cool that they got those. They do have, like, because they've had miniatures for all of them, they do have the iconic miniatures, iconic villains miniature set too that you could totally get if you're doing, like, tabletop, which, I mean, this is a game I feel like you could do, you just don't need to do with the miniatures. I guess there's, like, you could, though, you know?
Yeah.
It might also be just need to have a little miniatures of all 8 of those, though. I mean, that's kind of like the nerd in you is like, maybe I just want the miniatures for the sake of it.
I just want to know Q stats, though.
I am incredibly curious as to what the hell Q's stats would be.
Because, I mean, you know, he's kind of all-powerful.
Yes! Yes, he is! So, it's curious as to what the hell they would do for that. Yeah, I don't know. The other group that was thrown out was the Star Trek Adventures Enterprise player characters. So if you wanted to go and do like the USS Enterprise NX-01 with Archer and all the rest of those, they got them. They've got Archer, T'Pol's, Tucker's, Reed's, Sato's, Travis, Mayweather's, Phlox, and Commander Shran. Who I think is the Andorian that hung out with them, if I'm remembering correctly.
I think so.
Yeah.
Just be a Denobulan. They have funky smiles. And they don't need to sleep.
Uh-huh. They're a weird race that, the fact is, I think they're, talked about in, the other ones, but they don't actually, give you information about them until Enterprise, you know?
Well, because they're also not they weren't part of, I don't know if they ever became part of the Federation.
They are. Let's see here. I know they're Federation members, but I can't remember.
They're very much elastic faces, I know that.
Yeah. I mean, apparently there was a Denobulan that was in the talks to form the coalition of planets, so I don't know. I gotta check some of these other things here.
Yeah, I'm trying to.
So I think they joined, but they weren't one of the originals.
No, because they were very much liking to be independent for a long time.
Yes. Because originally was the Vulcans, Andorians, Tellarites, and humans. And so that was in 2154, and in 2155, Dinoblians, Rigelians, and Cordonites kind of joined in with them.
In 2378, Denobia was a Federation member. The planet was yeah.
I think it's.
So they did.
Go ahead. I think they weren't in the original 4 that started the first charter, but they were one of the very early joiners. I think is what it is. Is they weren't there right away, but they did join eventually.
Oh, and the Zindi became part of the Federation too.
Yes, the Zindi are, because technically in one of the books they'd have rules for playing some of the Zindi. And I think the Alpha Quadrant book or Beta Quadrant book, they actually have rules for playing them too. And that's some of the stuff that's very interesting in those Quadrant books that you get for the Star Trek bundle we talked about the other week for Humble. I looked through them and they got a large race selection, some really weird ones that have only appeared in very strange places, like some of the races that are in Enterprise more, or the animated series, Star Trek the animated series. They have the 3-armed, 3-legged people and the cat people. Well, the cat people.
The cat people were also in the movies.
They were. I will admit that. In the background, they had cat people in the movies.
What are they, Catalans or something?
Yeah,
like
Catalans
that?
or something.
It's like what?
But getting slightly off track.
Off track.
That too. I mean, it's very neat. It's kind of one of those things that, like, when you had the Gamma Quadrant and Delta Quadrant books, they effectively, like, Gamma Quadrant talks a bit about, like, hey, this is like the Dominion War and stuff like that. And the Delta Quadrant book talks about, like, hey, there's all the shit that happens with Voyager. They don't have a book for this. Like, I feel like Alpha Quadrant was also, like, for, like, original series. Beta Quadrant had a lot of, like, next gen. They've talked about all of them in a way, even if it's, like, roundabout, other than this one. And, like, again, like, this series, like, I didn't like it as much as the time, but, like, having gone and rewatched it, I can see that, like, the problem was just, like, it had the same problems with a lot of Star Trek series, is the original series were just, the original seasons were just not great. Like, the original season, okay, they're finding their stride. They had a second season, which was just, like, or the season where they went against the Xindi, it was just really weird, you know, and too much, and it had a plot for the entire season that kind of was ongoing, that involved time travel shit, which was kind of weird. Then they finally had their, like, final season. By the time they got to that, it was just normal Star Trek by then, almost.
Yeah, it was getting good, and then, unfortunately...
Yeah, I'm like, oh my god, like, I've having rewatched the... Thank you, Lightning, for in chat, the, Katians.
Yes.
But again, like, it's that thing of, like, getting to that place in time wasn't necessarily easy for them, and they didn't get any more. So, like, there's a lot more to that time period that would be neat. There's things like the Earth-Romulan War, where we had the
which
Allies...
Which gearing up to do.
Yeah, which we had, like, according to that timeline, like, or what information's known, I think it's the Vulcans and Andorians were on Earth's side for that battle. And and I think maybe the Tellarites even, and that's why those four joined the Federation to begin with. You know, those were the four that, you know, allied together to fight the Romulans.
Oh, Tellarites.
Yeah, I mean, they're interesting. They're
very stubborn.
I know, and they look so, like, because the fact is they had them in original series, and you see them in original series, and they're so badly done in comparison to, like, you know, when you see them in Next Gen and beyond and stuff like that.
They are kind of boar-faced.
Well, that was the point of them, you know, to be boar-faced.
Yeah. Oh, they're also pig-headed.
That's race is pig-headed. Yes, that was the point.
I mean, there's kind of a double pun there.
Yeah.
Let's make the pig-headed people actually pig-headed.
I mean,
but they are incredibly honest too.
True.
They just don't care about insulting anyone.
Yeah, they'll just, like, say it in front of your face and, you know, like, just be like,
you're an ass. Well, thank you for letting me know. You don't say.
So yeah, no, I think both of these are very interesting to have, definitely.
Agreed. I'm not as big of a fan of Enterprise.
No, I'll agree too.
But they also could have serviced that show a lot better when it was getting better. And then, even if they were going to cancel it the way they did it, oh yeah, we're just going to kind of not even give them really a ending. We're just going to make it a holodeck simulation that Riker and Troy were watching.
Yeah. It was just a bad kind of way of doing things, and
and I feel bad for oh my god, why can't I think of his name now? He played Captain Archer.
Scott Bakula.
Yeah, because Bakula's awesome.
Yeah, Bakula's awesome. I'll definitely agree. Jeez, man, you know, they've got some very, very, like, and that's some good and weird things throughout that entire, like, series. Like, again, like, they tried something different. you've gone beyond.
Well, that was also their first experiment with going previous in the timeline. You know, and when you're doing something like that, when you already have 4 long-running shows under your belt and a lot of history, it's easy to make mistakes and for fans to get ticked off because it's like, wait, that's not what the history said before. You know, you're going against the lore. And then, of course, you got to now with Star Trek Discovery, which they're like, lore? Yep. Who cares about the lore? We're going to give Spock a half-sister that he never talked about.
Yes.
Adopted sister. And then they explained it all the way by, we made it all top secret and are not allowed to talk about any of what happened.
They've done a lot of weird things with that stuff.
I mean, some of it I can understand, but the fact that, you know, that the ship existed, the entire Federation knew about the ship because it was a big thing against the Klingons.
Okay.
So it's like, how do you hide that?
Yeah. Hey, okay, so I'm going to give you something here. Because it took me a minute while you were talking about that to look up. On screen, they never mentioned Denobulans joined the Federation, but according to Star Trek Adventures, they did. There was always this implication of it. Thank you there, I had to look it up. But yeah, no, getting back to Discovery, I don't know if they would do something in Star Trek Adventures for it, because I feel like it's such an out there series, at least the way it started, you know?
Because it's also pre-Federation.
No, it's not. That's supposed to be Federation.
No, Discovery, I'm sorry.
Discovery. It's the pre-Federation stuff, you know, that you could use all the information that they've provided and kind of just do a pre-Federation story. It's not an impossible
Discovery is just so muddled right now, and now it's going to be going in how many years into the future?
Are they?
Yeah. Oh, they left it off. They're going like spoilers, 5,000 years in the future or something ridiculous, and that's so that way they don't have to worry about messing up any of the timeline anymore. Because at the last episode, they time traveled into the future. Because it turned out that the Red Angel was actually her mom from the future.
Coming out in October of this year's 3rd season. Welp.
Yeah, season 3.
Yeah,
because I'm pretty sure I know it's decently in the future.
A month later, the Enterprise attacks the 7th signal, begins a new adventure. Travels 900 years.
Sorry. But still, 900 years.
She then sets a 6th for Discovery to follow as she travels forward 900 year promise to set a 7th when they arrive.
Yeah, so 900 years. If you think about it, it was what, like 100 years between original and next gen?
I'm very interesting to are they going to just set that in there, or are they going to do more? What is the plan for this goddamn thing? Yeah.
What the hell are you doing?
It's my suspecting face. My suspecting and very... Very just
It's been rumored the reason they're doing it is to try to get fans to stop complaining about muddling up the timeline.
I mean, they did that a lot.
But now that, they put everyone to silence about, that not to talk about Discovery or any of the people, and they put him into the future is their way of kind of trying to wash the slate and move the series along.
Yeah.
But then you have a ship that's 900 years out of technology.
True.
I mean, could you imagine, like, the original series Enterprise trying to fight Next Gen's Enterprise?
It would not go well. And that's only like... That's like
100 years.
Yeah, it's like 100 years off. Yeah.
I mean, yeah. So how does a ship from that far back in time deal with futuristic technology?
I don't know, and what are they setting up for, like, 900 years in the future from where they were at? Because it's 900 futures from them, so it's technically 800 the futures from the Federation. And the fact is, like...
800 from Next Gen, yeah.
Next Gen. And the thing is, like, they've been on a lot of time travel stories up until then that included that, like, time travel was established as a something by then or something. So, like... I don't...
Because that's... I think... I know, like... Sometime around there, it would be, when it would have the time patrols and stuff.
Yeah, like, I don't know what the hell is going to happen with this. Like, I suspect they might jump the shark, unfortunately. That's what I worry about. They might jump the shark, and it, like, as much as we've had complaints about the past 2 seasons of Discovery because of the weirdness they've gone on and, like, the, like, sort of canon yet feels like not canon shit they've done a lot of, this just feels like they could just really jump the shark now. Like, really
Because not
weirdly.
not only they screwed up some of the past now, they could be screwed up the future.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't like it. I don't like it. No, sir. Not happy about this one here. This is going to be weird. Mm-mm.
Yeah, I thought you knew about that.
No, I didn't finish the season ever. Like, I had gotten to season 2, and I haven't, got a little bit into it, but, like, I just keep forgetting to go back to it, you know? I'm bad with remembering to finish up things without getting distracted by new things. Ooh, shiny.
Yeah. I do look forward to the next season of Picard.
Agree. That's going to be an interesting one.
I thought the first season was decent.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to see more, and now Picard is Robo Picard.
Technically, yes and no. I feel like it forms in that point that is because it's like when you're a biological being, technically, that's built in a robotic way, aren't you just like effectively like clone-ish? But I guess it's not quite the same.
Well, the thing is, though, they didn't give him any super android abilities. He still is only at human power levels. So, effectively, he's just himself in a body that's just not... in a brain that's not going to fail him.
Yeah.
And they did build in...
Oh, yeah, spoilers. Sorry, spoilers.
Oh, sorry, yes.
Mm-hmm. I mean, we are like 6 months on, and
yeah, spoilers if you didn't see it. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry, spoilers for the end of Picard. I just realized we weren't going to go that direction for a minute.
That was my bad.
Yeah, because we don't normally talk about like the ends of series on things. Yeah. I mean, Lightning's fine with it, so it's okay. I should probably just like put like I'm not going to remember.
When you post on YouTube,
I'm not going to remember. I'm not going to remember. You kidding me? I barely remember a lot of stuff when I put stuff up on YouTube. I will not remember to put spoiler warning up anywhere. I might put it in the description if I remember to put it in the description.
Oh, that's what I meant.
Under when we talk Star Trek Adventures. Spoilers for Picard. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not going to remember that either, Lightning, not to put in the title. You kidding me? I barely remember to put a title that's, relevant. or if there should be extra details on the episode other than, hey, it's episode 1, blah, 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 for this date.
Lazy.
I'll probably remember. When I get to this one and upload again, I'll probably remember.
Not.
Anyway, But still, yes. Picard's a good series. Like, there's a lot of Star Trek that I feel like
I want to check out the Lower Decks.
The little things I've seen on it seem funny, you know.
Yeah, I've seen bits and pieces on it. It looks interesting. I mean, it's supposed to be, a comedy.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. It's what you expect. It's a comedy, you know. It's a comedy about, like, you know, the people that are, like, you know, that you never talk about. The people that are, like, career ensigns effectively. Just, like...
I'm the one who cleans out the power conduits.
Yeah! You know, it's not a glamorous job.
Sanitation duty.
Yeah, you're the goddamn space janitor. I mean, they have...
Well, it might not even be ensign, though, too, because remember, they have
crewmen,
non-commissioned officers as well.
Yep, that's true.
So you could be like O'Brien, who's not a commissioned officer.
Yeah, but O'Brien technically got to the highest rank a non-commissioned officer, and when you look in the Star Trek Adventures, they say he was equivalent to, like, an ensign in actual rank.
Well, yes, but he's still... I mean, people treat him, like he's a higher rank.
Yes, well, I mean, like, he's above all the crewmen.
His experience and everything, but when it comes down to it, he's still... An ensign still could give him orders.
Yeah.
Which is weird to say.
Actually, I don't know if the ensign could, because they technically have equivalent rank according to Star Trek Adventures. The ensign might not, unless he's been put in charge of him or something, you know?
Yeah, okay, a lieutenant easily could.
Oh yeah, a lieutenant definitely could, you know?
But it's just weird that it's like, he probably should have an equivalency of lieutenant commander.
Might be even that, yeah.
Like what Geordi was in Next Gen, since he's pretty much a chief engineer.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. It should be better.
Because he didn't go through the academy.
No. He got to enjoy, like, there it is, yeah. Because he's a chief warrant officer, is he? I don't know what he's actually equivalent to. We're going on, like, Star Trek tangents a lot today.
Well, I think it's also because we're playing an off-stream game of it right
Yes,
now.
we did start an off-stream game of Star Trek, which we'll have to talk about a little bit when we do our our week in tabletop is. We'll have to tell you all about it.
What is?
I think I'll set up for the next thing while you're looking that up, because we should.
I think he's chief petty officer, if I remember right.
O'Brien.
Okay, memory alpha.
Senior Chief Petty Officer.
Yeah, senior chief. I knew it was chief petty officer. Senior chief petty officer.
I have no idea what that.
Chief petty officer. Let's see.
Because there's chief petty officer, a senior chief petty officer, and a master chief petty officer, apparently.
Chiefs were subordinate to all commissioned officers. They had for experience and practical knowledge than ensigns and lieutenants, and were expected to act as mentors to them and the junior enlisted assigned. Such are often among the actual leaders in the Starfleet organization, could even hold authority position of chief of operations. Chiefs served with distinction of Starfleet branches and specialties, but were practically particularly visible in engineering technical trades. So yeah, they actually it looks like they are subordinate. They are subordinate to all commissioned officers.
But technically speaking, normally they are. But it says they could hold
they can hold a position of mentor over ensigns and lieutenants.
But they could also hold chief of operations, which chief of operations I think would have like lieutenants and ensigns under you and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
it's a weird.
Yeah. Because O'Brien was chief of operations on DS9, so he had actually, like, though technically speaking his rank would have been lower than that of, like, ensigns and stuff, because he's still, like, he's not, or anything, because he was given that position beyond, like, because it's like, this is your job, like, you know, like, depending, like, you know, like, you could be the, like, chief medical, what rank are you in Starfleet kind of thing. You might be still the head of medical, and respected, even if someone of higher rank would be, like, in medical with you or something like that, you know, that kind of shit.
Also, he currently is the professor of engineering at Starfleet Academy.
That's true. Anyway, there's some nerdy stuff, things there.
Probably should move on.
Oh, yeah, you know, I was setting that up for me.
I'm sorry.
No, I like a good Star Trek discussion. You know, I am very Star Trek-y nerdy. So,
we are nerds.
We are big old nerds. We are big old nerds. We should talk about Tammany Hall. Yeah.
Olden times in New York.
So this is apparently a older game that it looks like they've come out with a new version of. Let me look this up. Board game.
Makes me think of Gangs of New York.
I think it's supposed to be a little bit like that.
No, that was around time of Tammany Hall and all that.
True that. I need full credits for you. Yeah, so originally it looks like it came out in 2007. So rather than, I don't think it's been updated a lot. I think this is more like it originally came. It's a reprinting. You know, it's like it's 2007. That's over a decade since it's been probably, like, produced, you know? It's been quite a while. And Pandasaurus is bringing us, like a redo of it, or, like, a reprinting of it, so that people that might like it as, like, a board game that's been out for 13 years might get a chance to play it now, too.
Do you want to be Irish, English, German, or Italian?
Like, this is a game that I haven't heard of before, so, you know, it's like, it's cool to need it. So it's supposed to be like, yes, you're the political power in New York during the Boss Tweed era. The re-release is coming out in 2020, so it's a little bit away. Well, I mean, September 16th.
Yeah, I was just saying.
Sorry, September 16th, right around my birthday. Don't get me this for my birthday. I'm not going to like it as much as other stuff.
1 month and 1 day.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's true.
We're a month and a day away from your birthday.
A little bit more than that, but still.
You're right. I'm bad with dates.
That's fine.
Right now, my first concentration is next Friday's my fiance's birthday.
That's an important one to know.
And then the following, the 6th of September is my stepson's.
Yep.
He'll be 18.
Wow. So the new edition just has, all it has is really updated artwork and their shiny new little, like, meeple figures.
Meeples?
Other than that, the rules are effectively the same as they've always been. They really haven't updated the rules. It's all about the backstabbing, the corruption, temporary alliances, taking power, ruling New York. Again, like, it's an interesting era of history in New York, and, like, I don't...
And racist.
I mean, isn't that most of the U.S. during this time period and many of the earlier time periods?
I know, but it was the Irish versus the English versus the Germans versus the Italians versus the American, the people who consider themselves true Americans.
You know... It reminds me of a very bad old joke, which I will never tell again, because it is like, it was not meant to be insulting to various people. Well, it was meant to be insulting to the Irish, and that was it. But like,
only the Irish.
Yes,
so, yeah.
But it was a very bad joke that I remember that I.
We're not going there.
Yeah. Anyway, it reminds me of it. It was just like.
Okay.
I think it's less a joke and more that someone said in New York that they will, I will say it the least racially insensitive, they will take African Americans, Chinese people, but they will certainly not take the Irish.
Yes.
Just replace the other words with...
I've heard that. Yeah, I've heard of that saying before.
Mm-hmm. That there was a big hatred for Irish, apparently.
Yes. The council markers almost look like Thor's hammer. It's like between a gavel and Thor's hammer. Technically, the gavel should be the handle should be a little longer. With it like that, it looks more like Thor's hammer.
No. I really like this, that, like, when you're getting into the additional information, where it's like 3 to 5 players, 60 to 90 minutes, ages 8+. There's a weight, 2.86 pounds. It's 2.86 pounds. It's like,
it's a lot of wooden figures.
It's not that it's heavy, it's the fact that they have the exact weight written down.
Hey, to someone, that might matter.
I mean,
you're taking it on a plane or something.
Technically speaking, you could play it 69 minutes long. Hey.
Well, I meant more if you're like traveling to a convention and taking it with you.
Oh no, I
might
understand.
Worry about how much it weighs, because you have to weigh your baggage.
I mean, like, what are you gonna do? Like, take it, put it in a plastic bag, like, break it down into like the components, and put that into a plastic bag, so you don't have to take the big old box. I mean, yes, you could actually. I never thought about that, but that might actually be a good idea for
you can put the pieces in plastic bags and put them in your pockets.
I was thinking for, like, in your baggage, because then you don't have to worry about giant boxes.
Right, but also to try to keep it light in the load.
Oh, yeah, you can just have them on yourself. Look, with my plane trips...
What is under your shirt? I have game pieces to my chest.
What's in this coat? All of Arkham Horror. Save for the board. That's in the back. That's in the bag because you can't. That's too big. You know, all the pieces. But no. It's cool to see a resurgence of something that like people were interested in, and it's something that hasn't had a printing before. It's good to see these kind of like reprints of stuff. Like I also like newer editions of games that are relatively old. Newer editions of games that are like 5 years old. That kind of fits in this kind of like nebulous like when was the last printing and how popular it is kind of category. I kind of usually put. You know, it doesn't necessarily need a reprinting. Like Arkham Horror when they came out with the 3rd edition. It was long enough since the 1st edition technically came out that I wasn't against it. Granted, like, I don't know if I will buy it because I own the 2nd edition, and I did get some play out of it, but it's hard to play that because, again, we don't meet, and again, it also takes forever to play. In the age of viral infections, we're just not around. But anyway, that's a different problem entirely. Entirely different problem.
Hey, at least the people who do Pandemic didn't come up with the coronavirus version.
They might eventually. They're not as insensitive to do it while the virus is out. Yes. Give them 5 years. After everything is said and done. That's what I'm going to say. Give them 5 years. Give them a couple years even. You know, like, just wait until everything's settled. There's a vaccine. Everybody's fine. And wait and see what people do. People are hardly insensitive. Anyway... We should move on, unless we want to talk more about being a boss tweed and being like a robber baron or like gang leader in
you're a gang leader.
New York.
You're a gang leader.
I mean, I could.
It's just ethnic gangs.
I could probably be considered it. I mean, like, look, I got you. You're part of my gang, and I got Lightning, and I got Umber and Worm, and I can bring out Blaze. Blaze is our mechanic. You could totally, like, you know, make us the stuff. Like, yeah. Yep, Lightning, you're totally part of it. I'm your tech whiz. Yeah, you're my computer whiz. Yes, you're there if I need some computer work. We would bring out the Switchblades and do a dance battle in New York City. No. That's a musical.
God no. God no. God no. I hate that musical. I love musicals. I hate that one.
Look, I just remember watching part of that and having like the gang members like leaping in like do like they're doing like that like leap, and it's like how is this intimidating?
It's also supposed to be Romeo and Juliet in modern time.
Yeah, you know, no.
That's what it's supposed to be.
Which one is that? Because I know there's 2 that are really hateful.
West Side Story.
It's West Side Story, and what's the other one that's hateful?
I don't know what the other one you're thinking of is hateful.
See? Hated Musicals.
There's lots of hated musicals. Depends on the person, I'd say.
Yeah, I don't know the other one other than West Side Story. There's another one that I know that's very bad. That's also not far off from it. But again, there's a lot of bad musicals. So.
Oh, the hobo with them. To see me down the flames.
No. Well, I mean, Oklahoma's supposed to be bad too, but that's besides the point.
Well, I know one that you don't like. Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
No, I didn't hate that one. It was hilariously bad.
I saw it with the Hoff as the lead, and he was actually really good.
Did he do the entire like your hair is back, you're good, your hair is down, you're evil, good, evil, good, evil.
Well, the thing is, how are you supposed to portray that on a stage? You don't have the time to change them, to do a full cosmetic change.
Oh, no, I will not argue with that. Definitely I will not argue with that one at all. It was probably a great way of doing it. It was just hilariously bad, because that's, the only way you could do it.
I mean, they also did, a lighting change and stuff like that on the one I saw. To try to emphasize the change. But yeah, the Hoff actually did a very good job, I remember. It was in Atlantic City that I saw it.
Interesting.
So the Hoff was at the beach.
West Side Story. Ugh.
Do you feel pretty? Do you feel witty?
No. While I'm totally looking up the musical list to see if I can remember that one that I was talking about, let's move on, though. And let me throw up. Fallout Shelter. It's, you play as one of the officers...
based on an app, based on a video game.
I know, it's so weird of a line. Granted, okay, the app was pretty good because it's the idea that you build your own shelter in Fallout. Okay, neat. It was based on that entire thing. They hadn't done a game like that for Fallout before. In Fallout 4, they had you build your own, village of ruined, but this is like building a vault. It's different. You have to assign dwellers to tasks, manage your vault's resources, and keep everyone safe from threat. It's I want to switch some details on this. Give me details of this game. I need more details. Here we go.
Play one of the officers in your own vault, trying to foster happiness among the vault dwellers, while keeping them safe from the radiation and monstrosities of the wasteland.
Yeah. So you got the not so friendly neighbors. When everyone's done pulling their dwellings, officers have to deal with the various threats. During this part of the term, players will roll to determine the various threats that pop out of the vault, representing everything from power outages to super mutants invading the vault, radroaches, feral ghouls. Also, when the threat deck runs out, the game is over.
2 to 4 players.
So, yeah. So you each build your own vaults, and kind of compete to see how you can build the best one, I guess, kind of thing.
My vault's better than your vault.
42nd Street!
That was like a face of pure hatred there.
42nd Street. It's the other one that's I remember is very hateful, other than...
I have no problem with 42nd Street.
Okay, well, I mean, again, you are much more understanding of musicals.
I'm also a theater nerd.
You are a theater nerd, so that's why. I just remember that being a very bad one, too. There's some other ones, but anyway, I'm walking away from musicals now that we're talking about Fallout Shelter. It's got interesting. It's got a very interesting Fallout aesthetic. Interesting idea of you build your own. Vol deal with it. Yes, it's random. I don't care. My brain is like totally farted now on what I was talking about for this game. Go on, Joe. You get back to it. Now that I've destroyed us all.
The only other, like I said, the only thing I know is really it's 2 to 4 players.
Yeah. It's $40 US. Is it available now?
Yeah, it was available as of July 31st.
So it just came out.
It looks like a lunchbox.
They do have it look like a lunchbox, which actually is I kind of like the look of the box. I do have to say, you know, that's actually kind of neat. Let's see here. Expand the happiness of dwellers, players alike. I think everyone would need their own game mat if you're going to use the game mats. Is the only problem. It's like one of those things. Like. That's the only feeling I get about the entire thing. Like, if you're going to use the game mat they sell, you know? Fallout Shelter board game. What do you tell me, board game geek? What do your board game eyes show me?
Geekness.
Excellent.
But not the geekness you're looking for.
I don't know what the hell I'm talking about anymore. I think I've broken. What the fuck? Board game eyes?
Broken?
Yes, but this is worse than normal broken. Like, what? Board game eyes? What?
That's okay, I'm just looking through pictures and denobulins.
Oh my god. I'm, like, I need, like, okay. Here's my trash bag. Just light it on fire. Trash fire. That's what we've gotten to today.
I forgot the denobulins also had really super long tongues.
Yep. And could blow up like a blowfish.
That I remembered. And they have to, like, saw off their nails because they're very thick.
Mm-hmm. They also, like, have multiple partners each, so they have massive extended families because, like, each one of them will have, like, multiple wives, and those wives will have multiple husbands, and, like, it'll be like, wow.
And very creepy smiles.
Yeah, they practice super polygamy.
The problem with that is, how do you make sure you don't marry... How do you make sure you don't have kids with someone who's related to you?
Have incredibly complex family trees.
Yes. They also have spinal ridges.
Yes. Yeah.
Doesn't end up back on Star Trek.
I mean... I'm not against that because we've taken a weird route here. Anyway, you know what? Screw it. Fallout Shelter. It's out now. I liked the app for a while. I played it until like I felt like I couldn't get anything else out of the app, and it was fun. I do have to say, like, you know, it was fun. I don't think they're supporting it anymore. It was for fun for what it was. It did have a lot of like late game issues. I felt like as I was constantly being attacked by like death claws or whatever the hell, like the attacks from below the earth that just like kind of could screw you if you're not careful or something. There were some problems, mind you, you know, and some like waiting game shit. But
I played it for a little while and got bored of it.
That's the thing is, like, I got to the end where I couldn't do much more, and like they introduced some interesting stuff, but it wasn't interesting enough to keep my like attention. It needed an end, and unfortunately, games like that aren't designed to have one. Builder games.
Well, no, because then how do they keep getting money out of you?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, I had, like, a vault filled with max-trained people with the best weapons and armor that you could find, period. So, I mean, like, there was, like, not a lot you could do. Like, you could drag
I'm sure if you revisited it at this point, they've added more stuff.
They had pets. Pets were stupid, and legendary people, which were really hard to get. That's what I always was trying to get, was I was trying to collect, like, I got, like, all the legendary equipment, all the legendary armor, and all that stuff that I had, like, the copies of, but, like, legendary people and legendary pets were a bitch to get. So it was like, it was too much of a slog, because it was random. Completely random, like, incredibly random. Like, badly.
Yeah.
And, like, legendary people, you apparently could get multiple copies of them, which was just stupid.
I have 10 legendary bombs.
Yeah, it was effectively like that. Granted that the legendary people were, like, people from the Fallout games and stuff, but still, it's like, great, I have this person again? Why?
I have 10 of you? How do I have 10 of you?
So Fallout Shelter, it looks like this is a much better way of doing the game than actually the game, I feel like, almost, because it seems like they're trying to capture the experience of the Fallout Shelter game, but make it a little competitive and make it have an end. So, I would be actually interested in maybe trying it out at some point in time. Whether or not I would buy it, that's depends on how interesting it actually ends up being and stuff like that, and how like it connects up to it. But,
yes. It's horrifyingly our last topic.
It's horrifyingly our last topic, yes, because it's Friday the 13th. Horror at Camp Crystal Lake. God, English has escaped me.
It almost sounded like you said horror at Camp Crystal Lake.
It sounded like you said horror, which was what I was going for.
I did, but it sounded like you said horror.
Oh!
Hiccuped in it. Horror at Camp Crystal Lake.
It is Saturday the 15th. That's right. We were slightly off from having that Friday the 13th. Anyway, yeah. It's the first of the USAopolis Friday the 13th official board games licensed, you know. Since they do a lot of licensed board games, we haven't had a chance to talk about them. It's a tabletop where your horrifying new game night mission will begin and end based on the time and warning chances to make a smart decision. It's a press luck survival game. You and your friends are the roles of camp counselors as they face off against, well, Jason in intense 5 nights.
I have to say something just because this is really freaking random.
Yeah.
If you click on the Friday the 13th at the top of it, it sends you to Scrabble National Parks on their website.
Wait. Which one?
Okay, when you're first there, right away, right under the Facebook, Twitter, blah blah blah, the first
You're
image,
right!
it sends you to Scrabble.
Oh my god, you're right!
And I'm like, because I'm like, oh, let me see what the age range and stuff is, and I started reading it, and I'm like, 8+. Wait, what the?
Okay, I'm gonna link this, which is the article where they're talking about the release. What it is what we're talking about is right at it's linked in the chat, and it will be linked in, description of YouTube. But right where it says Getaway gets the meeting with 13th, Limited Heart, they got the title, and right under that they've got, the square, rectangle band of the image of it, and if you click on that one, it's Scrabble National Parks.
I guess Camp Crystal Lake could be next to a national park.
I guess so. It's like your nature.
But it's just like, I don't think these two games go together.
Nope. Yeah, so it's like you endure suspense, you win by gathering the most valuable supplies, finding safety when everybody loses. They've got a lot of various things that you have, tokens and cards and stuff, which is very interesting.
It's ages 17+, not 8+.
Oh god, and the characters you get to play are the final girl, the partier, the nerd, the jock, the diva, or the nice guy.
At least they're keeping it racially sensitive and not going for the stereotypical black guy in a horror movie.
Oh my god, that would be so awful. I'm sorry, they did that a lot in the 80s and stuff, and it's a trope. It's a trope from the 80s because they did do it a lot, but it is much more racially insensitive nowadays. I mean, one of them could be like they could be various ethnicities. We don't know how they're
Yes.
positioning them on the cards and stuff.
But I'm just saying, at least they didn't go directly there.
The final girl, with or without tousled hair, the figure isn't new to being the last one standing. Partier, ironically too preoccupied to follow the rules, but keen to make sure heads won't roll. Nerd, awkward and resourceful, makes a resilient sidekick who don't get in the way. Jock, a gift of brawn to brains. It's always an athlete who steps in to settle the physical score. Diva, gets past the sass and fuzziness, comes in handy when it's time to improvise. And nice guy, whose strangely comforting purpose is just to make sure everybody is okay. I guess they have, like, role powers or something, is what I can think.
Probably.
It's $30. I mean, that's not awful for a board game. Seems interesting.
Yeah, it's 17 plus, 3 to 6 players, 60 minutes. Categories: horror, light strategy, and movie games.
Let me just see here.
They actually have the downloadable rules.
That's sweet.
There's 2 ways to play.
Is there?
First, decide which way you would like to play a basic game or a more advanced game. For a basic game, when playing with new players, for example, simply remove the defense fear cards from the game. For a more advanced game, shuffle the entire deck of fear cards with defense fear cards together. You're ready for setup. So apparently, I guess there's a chance that you try to do something to Jason, and he can defend against it.
All I have to say is Quake with Fear.
Quake with Fear.
No, you have to say it right. Quake with Fear! Because remember, it's badly dubbed.
Oh, yeah.
We're Ronin Warring it.
Which they have blood splatter. You know what that means? Splooge tokens.
Oh god, the splooge tokens of Frag. Yes, it's supposed to be blood splatters that apparently you can gather together to heal yourself, but we called them splooges.
It's like, are we vampires? We gather someone's blood and
it's a first-person shooter that, yes, you can gather the blood of to heal, so I guess maybe you're vampire first-person shooter computer guys. I don't know. It's a weird mechanic in that game that does... Yeah, it's hard to explain, it's like... You gather it together from a corpse of someone. Anyway.
I'm just going to attach this corpse's arm to my wound here.
And I heal up, like... It, like, knits back together at your shoulder once you attach the arm. It's like, yeah!
I had a gut wound. I just attached it there, and it just...
Like, I absorb it into me, like, yeah. Yes, your blood and body parts will heal me, my enemy. We're making Frag out to be much more of like a gory, like horror game than it actually is. It's supposed to, yeah.
I know, but still.
Yeah, I think we at least mentioned this game before, but like, now it's out probably.
We played it on stream. This
not Friday the 13th. Yes, I was getting back to the actual topic rather than, our random ass, like, talking about Frag and making it a horror game. But it's out now, and you can see the PDF of the rules, so that's always good. I'm always glad when they provide that kind of thing for a game. You can check it out.
And apparently USAopoly also wants you to play Scrabble. National Parks Edition. Alongside of playing Friday the 13th.
Yeah. It's now I realize that, like, I gotta remember that there might be more things I missed in the topics, because I forget that, like, I technically didn't go to some of the individual companies' sites because I forgot to. But that's okay. Like, I didn't check out if USAopoly was yelling at me about something. I'll do that next week. It's fine. Whatever. We'll be fine. We got to enjoy talking about some very important stuff today. Normal, regular topics. Yeah, regular topics that we hit up. So normally we have our deeper discussion. We don't have one of those. Kickstarter Korner. You got something for us, Joe, this week or not?
I did not get a chance to.
I will have to take a second here because I've seen something interesting and I can talk about it if I can find the link to it where I was looking up Kickstarters, when I was looking up some main topics. I did
Is it Bob?
see something. Bob Bobbington of the Bobbingtons? No, that's just weird. Why would Bob Bobbington be here?
Why not? Maybe it's his twin sister, Bobette.
Look, I'm doing the MacGyver theme, so in a game that we don't play anymore, we've leveled up, but I'm not the DM, so I can't actually do that, but I'm pretending that's what's going on. Somewhere.
Oh, so in that case, we level up in your Thursday game.
No. You'll get one of those eventually. Look.
We just got one.
I know. We'll get more of them eventually. I'm talking about favorite game where it's frick, I can't even remember my own characters. It's Lucian and
Lucian the Third.
Braum. Wow.
Braum Battle Rock.
I was like, it starts with B and I can't remember it. I'm like, wow, my brain has farted out. Like it's just like whoop, whoop. Gone. Smartness there. There was a couple of RPGs. Which one of these did I want to talk about? I saw one. Jesus. My memory has just broken a little bit. Why don't we get back to Kickstarter Korner and let's do our week in tabletop and then we can hit back up again because then I might be able to either find one or have brain not farting. No, that's wrong. It will happen. So we're grinding gears. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, 2 weeks ago.
We did skip a week. Oh my god, we are talking about 2 weeks ago for a lot of these things.
Well, last week I had some personal issues with family, so... 2 weeks ago we did have Grinding Gears. You guys made it back out of... God.
We left a turtle.
You guys... Well, no, you guys got away from the Phantom ship.
Yes, we got away from the Phantom ship.
You were able to run away, bravely run away, which was pretty much what you needed to do.
I don't think we technically could. You let us run away, man. You let us run away. That's the thing is that's something that
I think the misprints also let you run away because I think it shouldn't. They had some misprints in the book of it's blind sense and stuff.
Well, even with the misprints of the blind sense doesn't mean you don't know the trail in
the
direction.
It could have moved in that direction, but it couldn't move fast enough to keep you in that area.
I think the problem was it probably still could have gotten a few shots off on us, and one more shot probably would have killed us.
Well, it couldn't see. It couldn't target anything past its blind sense. It said it was completely blind beyond that.
When we were at a point that it didn't follow us, when we were barely outside of its blind sense, it only needed to have turned. Like the thing is, it could have still killed us. And it's one of the problems that they don't talk about in Dark Matter that I like that they brought up in Starfinder, where they're like, you have to not think of encounters like you do in normal combat. You have to think of
technically 360 degrees.
Yeah.
Well,
no, what you have to think about combat is that ship versus ship, because it's not a character versus a group of characters. The CR should be a lot different. That a normal encounter should be something less than you, and that if it's equivalent to you, that's very hard. And the deadly encounters, which are normally 3 or 4 higher than your CR, are 1 higher than your CR. 1. It's because because you have less stuff.
Yeah.
It's just it's an intrinsic way that they don't talk about in Dark Matter that really should be it's the CR system. It breaks down a little bit when it's ship to ship combat, and unfortunately just it's something that maybe they if they come out with more books they can fix. Again, they did they did fixes like that in Stars Without Number in the original edition. But I'm getting off topic. You know, I've had like these interesting discussions with Worm and Lightning about space combat systems over the past couple of weeks that we actually broke down a whole bunch of different systems and their space combats, and like we're like, oh, that's why like there's these problems here and there. They're very interesting ones. But
ironically, if I would have been better with the Starfinder system, I could have probably just used that. But
Starfinder is I think it has the best combat system for space combat as we've seen, next to probably Star Trek. But Star Trek, you're not supposed to get into combat if you don't need to.
Yes. But to continue, so you guys got away from there. You went back to the Avenra homeworld.
Yeah.
And was able to offload a crap ton of iron ore.
Yeah.
For a very good price.
And it's come down to the fact that we're going to have to do some kind of ship upgrade, but we're not sure.
It's looking like you guys are going to be selling your ship or trading it in for a new one.
I think the current thought pattern says what we're doing, because like I've been talking about it, is to go to the like CR7 effectively upgrade of our ship. It's still a Corvette. It could get into a fight if we needed to, but it also could be set up that if we need to run, we could. Because I think that's what we kind of want to do. Our ship currently, not really good at ship. And we need NPC crew.
Yeah.
But I don't know, like there's, like, again, we'll have to discuss it during a game, but we're going to have to upgrade ships is really what we're going to have to do. And, like, to like, deal with some of the shit in space, because it's been awful. Then I had 1 week of each records and legacy, because we missed the one because of my downstairs exploding and then power outages. Oh yeah, pleasant things. Oh, that's right, because one of them's kind of stupid of the 2 or 3 options, because upgrading our current ship is like more expensive than just buying a new one that already has a bunch of those systems installed. Yeah, the price system in Dark Matter is a little weird. We've agreed on that one. That's a different problem.
This ship was a good starter ship for you guys.
Oh no, it was.
It was a junker.
It was a junker. It was fine. But Records of Evil, they're going to, for some reason, like, because I was planning these both separately, I've managed to send both of my teams of Records and Legacies to Japan. Granted, one of them's Fantasy Japan because it's Karator. It's the country of I'm not going to remember it. It's one of it's effectively the Japanese country and Karator. Like, I was planning on sending them to Karator, and I was thinking of that peninsula, but I didn't realize that, like, I ended up choosing the one that was more Japan rather than Korea, just because in the end I chose over it. Like, going to Karator was always my plan. I went for the one that I could imagine better because I have more knowledge of modern-day Japan than I do of modern-day Korea or modern-day China. And that's the honest reason why I ended up there, and that reason. Like, I can Google stuff for actual modern-day Korea when they go to that in Legacies, because they are going to go to there. But, like, it's a difference kind of thing, you know, like, you know, description of, like, when I'm inventing a fantasy version of a world, rather than using actual real-life information. But no, like, in Records, they went to Karator. They've got their new kingmate, which they were introduced to. They're on the Trail of the Eye. And they're doing a pretty decent job of following it. The big old artifact they need. In Legacies, they met with Bodhi Vista, which is a very powerful version of it's like a 4th or 3rd generation vampire, but for the Kwaijin, the Asian vampires. But that's the equivalent to what one of them is. I mean, the search for them took a lot longer because also no one could figure, like, it was just some, like, there was a breakdown in almost communication between, like, what I was trying to get them to do and what they were doing, which can happen in a game. And then they kind of get a little frustrated, and I understood, because it's like, we're looking for it where it's a needle in a haystack of, like, someone here is supernatural, but they're, like, just hiding in a bunch of monks and not revealing that. You know? So it's like, so like when they're asking, do you know the Bodhi Vista? And I'm like, that's a term in Buddhist lore that's at this temple here. So, like, they're just gonna talk, like, point to the statue, and they're like, do you have any supernatural people? I'm like, they're just normal mortals, most of them. They're not gonna know. I mean, it's like, They went about it in, like, very bad ways. Hilariously bad ways. But, like, I don't think they could figure out, like, you know, but anyway, we went through it. Then, also on a couple of Mondays, we've done Pathfinder 2nd edition run by our friend. Joe, you missed that this week. We basically got to town. We're going to be heroes for hire for this town, effectively. There was a fire in town hall. We ended up working on putting it out. We finished putting it out, and we went and started exploring the place that we're being hired to explore. So, you know, that's where we're at.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I follow Logshanks.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't found any goblins, though, yet. We're still looking for... I know. More goblins. You're like your family. We're looking for your family, man.
My cousins?
Yeah, your cousins. We're looking for your
cousins.
cousins.
My cousins?
They're missing.
Ah, God damn it.
Yeah. That's why we're trying to go find them for you, man. We're trying to go find your cousins. And then in Wednesdays, I've had Pathfinder 1st edition with Carrion Crown, where they also had a horrible fire in a town hall. They put it out, though. And now they're exploring Harrowstone, and effectively explored the town ground, the outside grounds of it, and had to run away already and spend a day back home, like, resting, because they got beat up by a ghost scythe. Yeah. So, good times.
Yeah, ghost scythes.
I know. Thursday was 2 Children of Wraths. I think we had both of them.
Wait. You're missing something else on Tuesday.
Star Trek this week. Yeah. We played a Star Trek Adventures game where we're on a ship where there's, like, I don't know, they were testing a new... Yeah, there's Romulans. They were testing a new engine system, which overloaded and created, like, subspace fields of some kind.
Basically, it's like right before, like, the Voyager time period. They're probably trying to figure out those warp engines that are more subspace friendly.
Yeah. So we're dealing with subspace disruptions and Romulans on a starship where everybody but the one ensign is dead or something, probably.
Or captured.
Yeah. There could be some captured. I mean, they blasted the captain and the first mate, apparently, and the first officer.
Yeah. But we haven't found that many dead bodies, so...
Yeah, true. Yep. That was fun. Star Trek Adventures have been fun. It's been interesting with the cast of characters we've had.
Yes.
I think you, me, and Lightning were playing and it gelled really well. Mads was having some issues, and our 5th doesn't know Star Trek at all, so he's been having some issues not being like, I want to kill everybody. Yeah. I'm like, well, this is not what we do. We capture them.
We're Starfleet officers. We try not to kill.
Yeah, there's the Warp 5 limit, because a race of people eventually realized that... above warp 5, it does do damage to subspace. Or technically warp drives.
Actually, any warp does, but higher levels of warp do increasingly more damage.
And even up to warp 5, the damage is relatively negligible, and I think it would require like thousands of years of usage or something in an area, something that's like ridiculous like that. Yeah. But starting at warp 6 and above, because it is an exponential problem, it gets much higher. So, like, warp above 5 became a more emergency use, you know, kind of thing.
Well, regular, standard use. Anything above 5 is more for emergencies.
Yeah. But up to warp 5, it's just still standard. Yeah. So, it was an interesting kind of idea, you know, and there's supposed to be, like, engines that are becoming more warp-friendly and things like that. They were working on that.
That's why in Voyager, even though it was never really mentioned on screen, that their nacelles can vary, it was actually to combat the warp problems about going to in higher warps.
Yep.
It was very geometry warp nacelles, I think it is, and it was to try to combat that problem. So that was the whole thing with the Intrepid class, was their engines were specifically designed to combat that problem, but they never really mentioned it in Voyagers on the show that, you know, about that. It's just kind of mentioned in some technical manuals. Because they never really revisited in any of the series of, hey, shouldn't we be careful about what warp we're going? Nah. Anyway. We had Thursday.
We had Thursday, where we had Children of Wrath, where you finished up your adventures in the desert 1 week, leaving the area and the people of that place behind, eventually getting to Llanowar, and this week you met with the Queen, you went and learned more about Nim and his history.
We also got a payday.
You did get a payday, because you got loot and got a payday from it.
Yeah, we sold a bunch of stuff in the first Elven village.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, so there was some good stuff about that entire session. So I would recommend definitely the sessions. The last one was very interesting. Learning about
got to meet a giant
Kavu
and the wizard
and
or mage or.
Technically, it's the Marrow Sorcerer, which are
Marrow Sorcerer. Thank you.
Which are technically elementals.
Who's like 20 feet tall.
Yeah, because they're technically like
Yeah,
they're intelligent incarnations of a forest kind of thing. I mean, like, they're referred to as sorcerers because technically I think they use they like, if I was going to stat him out in D&D, he'd probably be considered like a 20th level druid also, or something ridiculous like that, because he is an incarnation of a goddamn forest, you know?
Yeah.
But he's also like a massive elemental creature on top of that probably has all these other ridiculous powers. You know?
He didn't quite like us being there.
Yeah.
And he didn't quite like Nim asking for his companion back for a short time.
Well, it's the entire thing of, like, he probably more feels like there was dedications to the forest and Nim abandoned them or something like that, and some of the problems that have occurred in Llanowar, he was not there to assist with kind of things when maybe he made promises. Things like that. There's been a lot of, like, issues between the two of them over the millennia.
Then we got to ride on a giant-ass Kabu.
Yeah, and you arrive back at Nim's home, where they're not too friendly yet. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they kind of like and hate Nim at the same time.
Again, because, like, he's unique that he lives a lot older than your average elf. So he's over 2,000 years old now. Most elves live to be, like, maybe, like, I think in Magic it's implied that, like, over 1,000 you're starting to reach the end of their lives. So maybe, like, 1,200, 1,300 would be their maximum lives, you know, like, up in that area there. You're getting into the end of your life cycle if you're a millennial. But, like, I know it's, like, the same term as, like, we use for certain different thing here, but I love it that's that way. But Nim is, like, bimillennial or something. Something that's probably unique and involves maybe powerful magics or something like that in order to achieve.
Yeah, Nim's an old fart.
Yeah, he is.
And we got to see him in his traditional outfit.
Yes.
And tattoos.
Mm-hmm. Because he normally has them covered over. The, like, nearly green phosphorescent tattoos of his tribe, you know?
And we all technically gained a level, too.
Yes, we did technically gain a level. So there's still some good things. I'm going to take another drink here.
How dare you? But I think that catches us up for the week.
Yeah, I think that does. Oh, well, thank you for catching us. Glad you could pop in here for the back end of it, at least. You know, if anybody wants to watch this from the beginning, it's going to be, I log them up on the Twitch. Definitely, that's the easiest way to do it normally, or I'll throw it up on YouTube eventually. But yeah, no, it's been some good weeks. With missing the week, we still had, like, last week, with missing the show, we missed so much stuff last week. So I'm like, yeah, we didn't do a lot. This week, you know, at least we had some good adventures this week. This has been a very good RPG week. Definitely.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Looking forward to next week. We got plenty of stuff coming up on the docket. That's going to be great. But,
tomorrow.
But anyway, Kickstarters, So one big thing. First off, like I shouted out about. I was going to shout out about Japanime Games doing Tokyo Sidekick up on Kickstarter because we do some nice stuff with them and have had okay relationships. I think they're one of the ones that I would like to make a better relationship with the company. Just because they do Besom now and like they've been nice to us, giving us a few things here and there. So, but Tokyo Sidekick coming up on the 18th as a Kickstarter, and so just giving that as a brief shout out and. I think we'll just leave that for Kickstarter now. There's a couple of interesting RPGs that are sort of up, but, yeah. Eh. It's been a long episode. I'm fine with where we're at now.
I actually have some errands I need to run shortly.
So it's a good stopping point here. So, hey, if you ever have any questions for us that you want to ask to have us show up here on the show, go ahead and do it. We are pretty good at throwing them up here and answering them if you're live here with us on Twitch when it goes up. Other things that are up there for you to shout out, you can hit us up on Discord, link down below if you're not part of my Discord. Join it. Most of the time, sometimes I talk about RPGs, most of the time I talk about random shit that's going on in existence with people in the main chat. But if you throw a question about RPGs up in one of the RPG chats, I will probably be involved in that. Me, Lightning, and a few others are very good at answering stuff, and going over stuff. But if it's a big question that can be answered here, we'll throw it up here. You can @me directly, at @tdracovin on Twitter, @jwseeker81 for Joe. There's a Discussing Tabletop at yahoo.com, which I check like once a month. I'm very bad at checking it. But it exists if you want to email us directly. So lots of ways of reaching us. Live in chat, or as I said, description of YouTube too. Cool. Yeah.
Yep.
And if you have a question for us at the table, we'll ask it. Answer. Either right then and there, or if it's something to bring here, we would. We like talking about role-playing, tabletop stuff, and nerdy stuff in general too. I mean, heck, we had freaking half an hour of tangent on Star Trek today because we had a Star Trek Adventures topic.
Yeah, don't get me started on Star Trek.
Look, when Star Trek Adventures puts out something that's really neat, we will talk about it, and then we will get distracted because Star Trek. Look, the new Werewolf the Apocalypse game, that's a really good question to ask. I can only hope that it's as good as the original Bloodlines or Bloodlines 2 for Vampire the Masquerade. Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 1 is jank mess. It works really well with the fan patch, but it's a really cool game that does capture the feeling of Vampire the Masquerade in game form.
Did you see, I'm sorry to interrupt, did you see Vampire Bloodlines 2 is postponed to next year now?
I didn't see that was postponed, but I did see they were doing a Werewolf the Apocalypse game. The thing is, a Werewolf the Apocalypse game being a hack and slash actually makes sense. That's the difference between werewolves and vampires, is where vampires are much more political, they're much more stealthy. Werewolves are action-packed. Werewolves are made to be just murder machines, Yeah. I try to think about, where the hell Mage fits in all that, because Mage is a big one. But Mage, I don't know if they have a specific, feeling to them, because it's all about, being subtly manipulating the universe. Yeah, I think that's a good way of it. Vampire's more RP, Werewolf is more combat, and Mage is a mixture. Though I do like the side of Werewolf's RP when you can get it in, because it's a very interesting kind of setting with all the tribes and the politics and stuff. And how and packs and things like that. The idea that when you form a pack, it's because you were destined to be a pack, so people that could hate each other will still work together, even if you get that, hatred between the characters. It's sort of because of the belief system, you get into that. It's just... and then you get the other World of Darkness games, which don't get me started on how to do weird stuff with those shitters. I talk about plenty of them when I'm doing Legacies of Kain. The amount of, other World of Darkness shit I brought into Legacies of Kain is insane and great. I bring in all... the entire shit with all the Kwai Jin has been fun to look into and, to research stuff and, to build all this stuff out and be I had to look up, Bodhivistas, only 3 have ever been named. So, I had to be if I either am going to make up one of my own or, do one that exists of these 3. And Werewolf games are so fun. But yeah, the new kind of hack and slashy one, I'd be excited to see if they capture both the game and and stuff to it. So, yeah. But anyway.
I was upset to hear that Vampire got postponed the next year. But they're saying, they don't feel that it's up to the quality that they want to release it at the moment. So I can understand that, respect that.
With how good yet shitty the first one was, the amount of bugs and mess that first game was, that the fan patch fixes so much of. Man, I'm looking forward to Bloodlines 2. I don't know if I'll get it right on launch because I usually wait a little bit for most games. Nowadays,
I was even kept debating about pre-ordering, and now I saw that they postponed it. I'm like, oh man.
There are very few games that would probably catch me and get me to buy them right away, and probably the games that I really love and play a lot right now, I would say, are the ones that I would definitely get right away or not wait for.
See, I was a huge fan of the original Vampire.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm like, oh, a new one, I want it.
I get to finish up my Tremere play on stream. I was playing through as a Tremere because I never play a Tremere. Not Tremere, Toreador. Toreador, sorry.
Toreador.
Yeah, I never play a Toreador. I never play Snob Vampire. And so,
You know what I always play.
Yeah. Hey, look, if frickin' Paradox announces, a... I don't know what they could announce. Like some kind of, Super Stellaris 2 that's, an upgrade to everything and it involves a lot of the stuff they put in together and was evolving it, I'd probably go for it right away. But anyway, I'm getting distracted.
I always play a Markavian.
Malkavians.
Because I'm insane.
Again, Malkavians is a mixed bag whether they're good or bad when you play them, so...
I know, but I just like being insane.
I realize that. Yeah. Hey, thanks for joining us, everybody. It was a fun one, as usual.
Thanks, everybody.
We're going to head off before we get distracted with more talk about nerdy stuff, because we really would. I would let someone play a Malk with a good idea. You'd have to come to me with the best idea. Tiv came to me with a great idea for Malkavian, and he played it well for the brief time he did. I would have liked to see how far he got later on, because I did sense there was some issues with it, but,
I played some good Malkavians.
His entire thing was, he played that he changed his he didn't, do full personality. It's, it was more aspects of his personality changed each day and the color of the clothes he wore. So, one day he'd be more, depressive, others... It was kind of like a manic or bipolar, but it had, 7 emotional kind of sets, rather than just one. So it was an interesting way of playing it. Anyway, that would be... If you want to check out... If you'd like to see some Kane up on my YouTube channel, the first couple of episodes has Tiv in it playing as Malkavian. Granted, he didn't dive into depths of how much he could, but you can see a little bit of how he's playing. That's an example of way that I would say probably yes to. But yeah, we got to get going. We're kind of reached our time here. Joe has some errands to do. I've got a couple of things I want to get done this afternoon. So thanks everybody for joining us. Make sure you stay safe, healthy, and sane out there. Hopefully you can join us for grinding gear tomorrow. The normal schedule out there. Legacies of Kain, Records of Evil on Tuesday. Children of Wrath on Thursday, sorry. Eventually, the Star Trek game that we're doing off-stream might turn into a stream game. We'll see about that. We're interested in that. I'll announce that when that happens. I'll probably be on someone else's channel then. I might have some other stream games coming up. And if you're looking forward to this, 2 p.m. every Saturday, we're here. We haven't had a guest in a while just because of the year has been in a way that it has just been awful. But maybe I'll start trying to look for guests again. I keep talking about that. Maybe I'll dedicate some time to it, amongst all my other stuff. So, Lightning will join. We could probably get Lightning to join a couple of weeks here and there. But anyway, yeah. Everybody have a great rest of your Saturday, great rest of your weekend if you don't join us for anything else, or otherwise, see you next time. So, farewell, goodbye, and auf Wiedersehen.